Welcome to episode 34 of Excel Beyond Boundaries. I'm here with Walt Dublin, friend of mine from high school, amazing father with an inspirational story, also a widow. Thank you, Walt, for joining us today. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for having me. I
Oh,
appreciate it.
absolutely. Absolutely. Starting out, take it away back. When did it all begin for you and where?
Originally from Jersey City, New Jersey. When my grandfather retired from the police department, he was the chief of police for the Jersey City Police Department, moved our family to Nokomis, Florida, just south of Sarasota. So spent most of my childhood growing up in Nokomis, in the Venice area. And then as I kind of moved up through high school, moved to North Sarasota, close to Booker High School, where I stayed until I went off to college.
Nice, nice. And what did you always know what career you wanted to get into, or did you kind of jump around a little bit?
No. So, coming up as a kid, obviously, being a young boy, I had my idols, whether it be superheroes, Ninja Turtles, Iron Man, Spider Man. But I was really into sports. And so, growing up, sitting down with my grandfather watching the Florida Gators and the New York Giants and Tampa Bay Buccaneers play, as I got into high school, I think my goals shifted from just whatever I was into at the time. I was really big into science to, just having these aspirations to be a professional football player. So, I started really focusing in on the weight room, working on my technique, my skills as a defensive lineman at Sarasota High School. And that culminated in receiving an athletic scholarship to play football at the Ohio State University. Go Buckeyes! So, that I would say was my first real goal that I set my mind to something, really wanted to work on making it happen. Of course, it wouldn't have happened without the help of, my family. My mom was instrumental in, helping prepare me for school and making sure that I stayed on top of my academics. My grandfather was a massive contributor to my success on the field. He drove me to every single practice, every single game, all the way from the time I started playing little league all the way up through high school, and even when
That's
I went off to
amazing.
college, he was there as much as he could be. So, I had a lot of people around me rooting for me. But you get to college and then you realize that football isn't all you know glitz and glamour. I think as a high school kid, it's hard work, but there's still a lot of camaraderie. There's a lot of downtime. You get to college, your day is pretty much planned out from 5 a.m. until 10 p.m. And, in hindsight, I wish I would have taken a little bit more time to kind of mentally prepare myself for all that college football entailed, both as an athlete and as a student. I mean, it's a
I
huge
see.
commitment. Um, I made some mistakes along my journey, thinking that I could kind of bypass the academic part in favor of
Oh
the athletic
no.
part,
Yeah,
which led to football not being the long term goal that I wanted it to be. I did have the opportunity to play professionally after college. Got picked up as an undrafted rookie after the draft with Detroit. Got cut very quickly. Played in the Arena Football League for a little while. Played in Canada for a little while. Obviously, the money is not the same.
yeah. Can
You're not in the
imagine.
NFL. You're not making enough money to retire anytime soon. So
I didn't know all
when
that.
what's that?
I didn't know all that about playing professional for a little bit, and
Yeah,
prior to that at college, choosing to focus more on the sport, and then falling behind with the academic side, and then
yeah,
suffering.
yeah.
Yeah.
It,
So then
it,
ultimately, how'd you choose to step out?
Yeah, so I was actually living up in the Midwest, playing arena football when my oldest son, was born. His name's D'Angelo, and I mean, that was the turning point for me. when it was like, I'm sitting there holding him in the hospital and it's like, okay, it's about something bigger than me now. I can't keep bopping around all over the country trying to make this football dream work. It's time to grow up, get a big boy job. So that was what kind of prompted me to, take life a little bit more seriously and focus in on, building a career and something sustainable that would provide for my family at the time.
I see. It's I hear that quite often when you have your first child, it changes your world. And
Absolutely. And I know you have one on the way too. So congratulations.
yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, pretty soon, about early October. So about a month and a half.
That's
So pretty
exciting.
soon. I'll definitely be reaching out for some parenting advice.
I'll do what I can. There's really no set path or handbook on how to be a great parent. A lot of it is trial and error, but if there's anything that I can do to help kind of reduce the number of errors, I'm happy to help. So,
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. So, what before I get into the next question, I'm curious, what career did you choose? What did you end up getting into?
yeah, so I've always had a passion for journalism, and so when I initially went to college, I went as a journalism major. Uh, love writing. I still write today, but not a ton of money in that unless you like a New York Times bestseller or you get
Yeah.
on writing scripts or screenplays for Hollywood and stuff like that. But um, I've always loved technology too. So like as a kid, my grandfather also had a passion for technology. He was the guy in the neighborhood that always bought the newest electronics, the first guy in the neighborhood with a flat screen TV, the projection TV, first guy with the computer. So I grew up in an environment where we were constantly playing around with tech and building things and downloading software and doing all the fun stuff. And so trying to find a way to kind of blend that love for journalism with a love for technology. Ironically enough, got into sales, but in advertising technology. So, for the past, let's see, 13 years now, give or take, I've worked in advertising technology, kind of working my way up from, the bottom floor as like a commission only sales rep at a startup to running sales teams, culminating now I run our enterprise sales team at a company called Raptive. We're the world's largest programmatic ad management company. So what that means is we essentially handle all of the display and video advertising for over 6,000 websites on the internet. So
Whoa.
um, likely when you go to your favorite website and you see the banner ads on the page all over the place, we manage that real estate. So I like to tell people we're glorified high-end real estate agents.
Yeah. In a sense, that's true.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome. Wow. Very interesting.
yeah. It's
That is
it's
cool.
it's a lot of fun. No day is the same. So that's what keeps it interesting.
Man, no, I have so many questions about that, how you got into a leadership role and all of that. But I was gonna jump around and ask, what's the most powerful experience? I know you haven't shared all your journey yet, but what would you say is the most powerful experience along your journey that reshaped your belief in what you could achieve?
I would say, um, and this goes way back to childhood, and I'm gonna go back there because I feel like it kind of comes full circle. Like, so I have to kind of prep you with the context, and then we'll get into
Okay.
where I am today. So as a kid, my father, my biological father, was not a big part of my life at all. He walked away from my mother when she was pregnant with me. So, I grew up with an extremely hardworking mother that was going to school full time and working full time while raising me and my older sister. So I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. They lived in Nokomis. Um, when I was younger, my grandmother, who was like my best friend, she got sick. She got diagnosed with cancer, and so as a young kid, you don't really know what's going on. You kind of hear what cancer is. You don't really understand it. You just know that grandma isn't as healthy as she used to be, and over time, you see the decline. right? The decline in her mobility, her energy levels, her spending time with us. But I also saw my grandfather and how hard he worked to make sure that she had the best care that she could find. And I now understand, knowing what I went through, how hard and distressing those types of situations can be, how hard it is to maintain focus and stay present for the other people in your life as well. But he did it seamlessly. Like, you would have never known, if you looked at my grandfather and had a conversation with him, the amount of turmoil and chaos he must have been dealing with,
Really?
trying to, take care of my grandmother. So as a kid, I just saw him laughing and spending time with us and showing up for us. And he never missed a recital or, like I said, a
Wow.
practice or a game or anything. He was everything to us because, like I said, my father wasn't there. So he was like my grandfather and a father figure to me at the same time. Uh,
Amazing man.
yeah, yeah. And so, I would say it was transformative in that I just knew as a kid that that was the kind of man that I wanted to be for my family if I ever had one in the future. And I used to talk about that all the time. You know, um, in high school, I would get interviewed by the local sports, by the news. They'd come and talk to me about, all the scholarship offers and stuff that I had. But they would always ask me, like, what's one thing that you want to take away from this experience? And I used to say, I just want to have amazing stories to tell my kids one day. And so that was my grandfather to me. Like, he was, like I said, a former police chief who had all sorts of cops and robbers stories,
Oh
police
yeah.
cases, and some of the cases that he worked. So I had those, but then to see how he was just as a man, how respected he was, how he took care of his family, that was transformative for me. And then having gone through what I went through recently, where, as you know, a couple years ago, my wife was also diagnosed with terminal cancer.
Yes.
And, I attribute a lot of how I handled that experience, um, showing up for my wife, showing up for my kids, as best as I could. Also, still showing up to work every day and working extremely hard, to those lessons that my grandfather taught me without even realizing he was teaching them to me. I just saw him doing them,
That's true.
and it made me, want to be that type of man I could for my family as well.
That is beautiful. Like having that influence and then you ultimately being able to do the same to show up for your kids. First I've got to say I'm so sorry for your loss. And I remember seeing the the each uh challenge you went through and how you dealt with it. And it was very inspiring how you dealt with it. You always seem to be so strong for your kids and hold the family together. And I am so impressed by everything you went through. How did you manage to show up for work, despite your wife's going through all of that? And how did you pull through have with that mental strength?
Well, the thing about cancer or illness in general, I don't want to just kind of isolate it to cancer. That's just my experience. So that's all I can really speak to. But um, there's so much of it that's out of your control, right? Like, as a man, we're fixers. We like to try to fix things, and when we can't, like, a lot of times things can spiral from there, which is why you see, I think some of the statistics show that when women or spouses, like wives, get sick in relationships, there's a higher percentage of men that walk away from their marriages and their relationships when the wives get sick versus when the husbands get sick. The wives tend to stay and take care of the husbands.
Oh wow.
Women are nurturers naturally, and so with men being fixers, like, you have to, in situations like this, kind of trust a lot of other people to take care of your wife or your person, your loved one. Because I'm not a medical professional, I'm not an oncologist, I'm not a surgeon. Like there was only so much I could do. So a lot of time I felt out of control, and showing up at work uh, was a way for me to maintain some level of control in my life. I knew, I'm gonna do what I have to do for my family, but trust all these people to make sure that my wife is in the best hands I could. And I found her the best doctors, the best surgeons I could find. Um, and I was doing really well at work, and my career has always been something that's been very important to me. So I knew, regardless of the outcome, like I was still gonna have to show up for my wife and my kids. Uh, and so I can't have two things in my life crumbling at the same time. I
I
can't
see.
exacerbate what's going on in my personal life by like not showing up and letting my professional life fall apart as well. So I just tried to compartmentalize as best I could. And, in the end, I'm grateful that I was able to do that. Um, Realistically, when you're dealing with terminal brain cancer, stage 4 brain cancer, um, there's there's not a whole lot you can do, man. Like, unfortunately, I mean, it's one of those situations where um, I always kind of had in my mind, I didn't know when, but you kind of know what's coming. And so I just did everything in my power to be present in the moment for them as they needed me, but also keep the future in mind that, I'm still going to have to take care of 3 kids by myself. And can't do that without a job
True, true.
or an income or any of that. So it was
You're
important
right.
to me to keep that train on the tracks as well.
I see. So you definitely directed as much focus and energy into your career when you weren't focusing on your wife. That makes sense, but still easier said than done, of course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And um, it's interesting because I work for an amazing company. Raptive has always shown up for me. They told me to take as much time as I needed, be gone when I needed. Um, So it was never a question of job security. I know a lot of people in that situation that they worry about that. Like, if I miss this much time, am I going to get fired from my job? That wasn't even on my radar because from the top down, um, everybody in the company cares about everybody. So they constantly encourage me to take time off. But as a
Good.
head of a sales team, when you have so many things in play at a time, like we had multi-million dollar proposals out, like the idea of just stepping away and leaving that stuff to chance to fall off was like that's a huge risk. And so I did try to balance taking some time off, but at the same time, there's a lot of quiet time and downtime as well. So instead of me just sitting around with idle hands in my thoughts all day, I put that time to use and focused on keeping things going at work. So
That makes sense. And I can imagine with all the responsibility you have as a leader within that company, yeah, walking away for a period of time, that must have been a little stressful to a degree.
yeah, yeah,
That makes
yeah. I
sense.
mean, it was. I mean, I didn't take long periods of time off. I would take a couple days here and there if I absolutely needed to, and then towards the end, I definitely took more time to be there for her to make sure that she was comfortable. But like I said, I have a great team. I mean, they as much as I like to think, they need me, they do just fine without me too. I feel like, I've done
Mm.
a good job of bringing great people in that don't need me to hold their hand and babysit them every day. I'm there to support and empower them as much as I can. But at the end of the day, like I trust them. And, if I did need to step away for a while, like I know they'd hold it down for me. But
That's
it
a
definitely, it was therapy to some degree to be able to step out of that chaotic world I had going on at home and step into a Zoom call where, I can just, for all intents and purposes, like just focus on the task
yeah.
at hand. It
That
was,
makes sense.
yeah.
And that's a true sign of an amazing leader. Teaching your team enough where they can automate, systemize, and not rely on you, and you not micromanage. So that says a lot about you as a leader.
Appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. How would you say the whole experience shaped you? Have did you take away, anything in particular with overcoming all of that? Like, has it changed you, fundamentally, or?
I would say the biggest takeaway, or one of the things I try to express to people, is to not be afraid to be vulnerable, not be afraid to let people into what's actually going on in your lives. Um, as you may or may not know, I'm sure you've seen my blog. Like, I keep a blog. I started writing really when my wife got diagnosed. And I used to write years ago, but I took a huge hiatus from writing. But in talking to my therapist, they were like, well, do you keep a diary? Do you take time to journal or, write down your day to day or what's going on in your life and how you feel? Sometimes it could be therapeutic. And I was like, well, I mean, that's a good idea. So I started journaling. But through the process of journaling, I also started reading. You want to try to, take in other perspectives, especially from people that are going through similar experiences, right?
Oh yeah.
And what I found was there's a ton of resources out there for women who are taking care of their sick husbands, but there really aren't that many resources for men or husbands who are taking care of their sick wives in terms of
Interesting.
podcasts, books, blogs, support groups. I mean, there's some really small ones. I mean, I did find a few in my searches, but there was a huge void of information there. But not just information, of stories and perspective. And so I started taking my journals, and then I would create like a public facing kind of blog post that I could share with, not just friends and family to update them on what was going on in my life, but also, in the support communities that I was a part of.
Provide value from your perspective.
Exactly. If I'm going through this, there's definitely somebody else out there that is. So maybe how I look at things could potentially help somebody else. Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Um, I took it another step further. Uh, and I'll tell you why I did this. I started sharing my blog post on LinkedIn, where my entire network of my coworkers, my colleagues, my clients, my prospects, everybody that I'm doing business with is there. And my thought process there was, um, I really hated showing up to conferences and showing up to Zoom calls where people are all jovial and just like asking, hey, how was your weekend? How was your day? And you're put in this position where you have to be dishonest because, if you have things going on in your life that are stressful, um, I didn't want to have to be the dude to BS it through the meeting. It's like,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So I did that for a while before I started doing this. Like, I would hop on a Zoom knowing like I'd been in the hospital for, a week with my wife, getting, infusions and dealing with all sorts of stuff. And to have to show up on a Monday and hop on a Zoom with a smile on my face and act
Man.
like I had this amazing weekend just like they did, and not wanting to ruin the mood of the conversation by talking about how my weekend or my week really was. I
Yeah.
faked it. I faked it for a while, and then I said, you know what? I'm not going to fake it anymore. And it could, I don't know, potentially jeopardize, a deal or something. But I think it's important for people to understand where I'm coming from, so I don't have to fake it anymore. And so I shared it, and I don't know what I was expecting, but I didn't expect the response to be so positive.
That's
Um,
amazing.
it changed a lot of my relationships with people in a positive way. Um, Both with clients, prospects, coworkers that, I work at a remote company. We have almost 400 employees and we have an office in New York. Uh, Almost everybody lives elsewhere. Like nobody's in New York. And so, uh, not being able to connect with people in person as much as you usually do, a lot of your coworkers just kind of get to know you on like a very surface level. So
Yes.
to share the blogs and have people get to know you on a deeper level than they normally would have helped foster a lot of really strong relationships within the company that are now some of my closest friendships. It
Yes.
helped really build trusting, like genuine relationships with my senior leadership team, who, they have so much to do and so many people to look after to a degree. To get into the individual stories can be kind of difficult as a leader without people coming to you and talking to you about them. And so to have, people like, our chief business officer or our CEO reach out to me personally to say, hey, I read your blog and it really touched me in this way. And I'm so grateful for you sharing your story with us. Like that stuff meant a lot. But then to take it a step further, you hop on the phone with prospects and to have the first part of a conversation not start with hey, how was your weekend, but it starts with, hey, Walt, like, I read your blog last weekend.
Wow.
How's your wife doing? Or, I saw your son scored a touchdown in his football game. Like that's amazing. And like it's so inspiring to see
It's
how this
beautiful.
and that. So it made everything feel way more genuine than it had in a long time. So I definitely encourage people, like, at the end of the day, in business and life, we are all human beings. We all have uh, our triumphs and we all have challenges that we go through every single day. And in order for people to fully understand you and trust you, especially in business, and they're doing
Yes.
business with you,
Sales.
they have to know who you are. They have to know what type of person you are, what kind of cloth you're cut from. Like it just helps. It helps a lot. So yeah, I would say that's the advice is just be more vulnerable, be more transparent, be human. It'll take you way further in life and in business than anything else.
I love that. That is such a powerful lesson because most people put on a face and they don't show their vulnerability. They don't want to share, what's going on in their life, and they think that the world doesn't want to hear it. But yet, that's how you foster connection, that vulnerability, both sides. And so, when you were telling your story, I was really curious to see how it played out for you. Because, yeah, you were stuck between not wanting to be fake, it didn't feel true to yourself to put on a smiling face and to lie when they say how was your weekend, but you didn't want to be like the negative person bringing that energy. Uh, so you kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. So then you chose authenticity
Yep,
from a place of just love and truth, and then they respond in that way. It's just so beautiful,
it is. And
man.
you mentioned the not wanting to be negative. I think there's a way to kind of articulate anything in a way that doesn't come across as negative. I think, one of the things that if you read my blog, and I'll send you a couple links, is, my approach is one of like, and I learned this a long time ago, and like it's a weird application for it, but when I was in school, I remember teachers used to talk about compliment sandwich. You remember that?
Ah,
It's
yes.
like anytime you give feedback or criticism, it's like let's start with the compliment, we're going to give the feedback, and then we're going to end with a compliment. Works every time. So you take that approach, but use that in storytelling to some degree. Um, I'm going to start by talking about something positive or uplifting. Then we're going to get to the hard stuff. And we're going to talk about, what we're going through. But I would always try to end every single blog post on some sort of an uplifting note. And some of these blogs would get really deep, but I feel like there's always something beautiful that can come from hardship. And so I would try to kind of bring it back to that because I feel like just as much as I needed the hope every day to wake up and keep pushing forward, whether that be hope from, my wife's treatment or from my kids or from how family has stepped up and helped support me and the kids throughout the journey, or how, like I said, my company has stepped up and helped support me throughout my journey. There's always something positive that you can come back to at the end to say, even though I'm going through one of the most difficult things anybody can ever experience in life, I still have reason to wake up every day and be positive and hopeful for the future, no matter what. And I feel like that's important. So yeah,
That's a great message. I love that. And you're so right. Got to appreciate the little things, and being authentic really allows your community to connect with you,
yeah,
and you're living proof of that. Um, and I have to say, from an outside point of view, seeing your posts, and I did read a couple of your articles a while back, and it comes from your heart, and so it just instantly connects with people. But you're right, the way that you wrote it, it was like, entertaining, getting them hooked in the beginning, but from an authentic point, like in an authentic manner. And then, the challenges you're experiencing, and then it would end with something positive, from that, like a lesson learned or how we could learn from it. And yeah, you always write or share things in a certain way. And then it's amazing to see how the community responds, because I remember like Sarasota, everybody knew who you were in high school,
mhm,
and you got such a big following, even today. And so it's cool to see how it's inspiring to see how they respond to you, communicating with them. It
yep,
really, what you're saying is exactly what I see from a outside point of view. It's beautiful.
that's great. I mean, one thing you can't see that is even more, in my opinion, more profound and more impactful to me is, you know, I've throughout this journey have become a part of a number of support communities, both in-person communities, but a lot of them are social communities through, like Facebook. So there's a network of widower and widow support groups. There are cancer caregiving support groups and communities, support groups for, parents who are now, raising children as solo parents after losing their spouse. A lot of people, because the percentages are so low of people in our age bracket who lose a spouse to terminal illness, like these aren't communities that most people will ever be a part of, God willing. Like, I hope they never are. Like, I mean, it's not a club that you want to be a part of. But to be able to share my blog posts and my stories in those communities and get the feedback from the people in those communities on how much it's helped them process certain things, or how it's spoken to a lot of their experiences and help them articulate things to their families because they didn't know the right words to be able to, say those things. And so to get that feedback to me is what it's all been about. As much as I love all the comments and, people reaching out to me from Sarasota High and, just from Sarasota or just my life in general, I mean, that's definitely it's helped me through this journey to know that I have support. But like, to me, if I can help one person in those communities process their grief journey, or continue moving forward, to me that's all worth it. That makes it worth it. That's what encourages me to keep writing every day.
Absolutely.
So uh, it's all been in as hard as everything's been. I feel like I said, there's always some sort of silver lining or something to wake up every
Yes.
day and say, you know what, I'm grateful that I had my wife Catherine in my life for the amount of time that she was in my life. I mean, she changed my
Right.
life in a lot of ways, both in her presence and after she had to leave us. We were together for almost 14 years. So,
A
like, from
long
that time
time.
I was a young kid, just post football to now. Like, I mean, she saw me into my manhood. I was a young kid trying to figure out how to be a dad when we met. And I'm grateful to know what type of man I am as a father and what type of man I'm capable of being as a husband, which is also extremely important because,
Sure.
I know, you recently joined the club, which is all the
Yes.
congratulations on the wedding as well. I mean,
Thank you.
I think, a lot of people, when they get married, you say a lot of things. There's a lot of promises. You can go through your vows. And, we all do it. I mean, it's kind of a reflex in a wedding, really. But when those vows get put to the test, like really put to the test, um, I feel like I took a lot of pride in the fact that when I sat on the beach, because we got married in Hawaii, we got married in Maui on this beach called the Secret Cove in Wailea.
Oh,
And I
sounds
said,
like a dream, like a
it was
picture perfect
beautiful.
wedding.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was just us. And so I sat there and went through my vows. I think my wedding is on YouTube still. I was a blubbering mess in the wedding.
Uh,
I cried, tears flowing. I could barely get a sentence out. But I promised her that I would take care of her and that I would be there for her. And so as she got sick, even when things got really, really hard, I mean, you fall back on those vows. And I'll just say, we're talking life lessons and advice. I would say as men, we got to mean what we say. We got to stand on our word. And like, there's nothing more important in life, in my opinion, than, marriage vows. And so,
Absolutely. That's
yeah,
beautiful. Thank you for sharing all of that. Really.
absolutely.
What would you say to someone that is going through something similar? Would you to kind of recap, to be vulnerable, to open up to your community, loved ones, friends, to join communities, to learn how to articulate to their, love their family or those that need it. What else would you say for someone going through a challenge like that?
There was advice I got when I first got into my career. Can't remember what I was going through specifically, but I showed up to work one day and there was something going on in my personal life. And my boss at the time, who ran this insurance agency, he pulled me into his office. He's like, "Walt, like, what's going on with you today?" He could tell I was just like off my game because I was in sales. I was one of our top sales reps, just closing deals every day, and I was working in insurance. So like at the time, like I was just selling insurance over the phone. And so you had to sell every day. We were making like 200 plus phone calls, cold calls a day. And you're selling like 2 to 3 policies a day. On this day, couldn't sell anything to save my life. And so, it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Boss calls me in. He's like, "What's going on, man?" I was like, I'm just having a crappy day and I got all this stuff going on at home and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. And he goes, "Walt, you know what'll make this worse? Is if you let that stuff at home start impacting your ability to make money. And then that'll roll over into financial issues, which make personal issues worse. So you need to learn to check it at the door." And so from that day forward, I learned from that to compartmentalize better. Like the problems don't go anywhere. Like, I mean, you still got to deal with them.
Yes.
But I've kind of learned to put things in boxes, and I can access this box when I need to. I can put something away in another box, close that box, and deal with something in this box. So I got into this routine of just like I can have chaos going on in the room over there, but for this next 20 minutes that I'm on this phone call, I'm locked in. Like I'm locked in. You would never know that there's a fire behind door number 3. Like you wouldn't know that was going on. So I ever since that day, anytime I've had something going on in my personal life, I took the approach of as soon as I walk through the door to my office or my place of employment, I'm here. When I walk back out at the end of the day, I can get back into that mode of dealing with that thing that was bothering me before I went into work. But while I'm there, I'm
Check it at the door.
yeah, check it at the door.
That's intense focus to be able to just shut it out and not think about it and not let it interfere with your, your current present moment. So that I'm sure that definitely takes a level of either practice or just mental resilience in a sense.
I think so, but I also think it just comes down to prioritizing what's important in the
That
moment.
makes sense.
And again, as a father and a provider, you know, uh, I can't allow external pressures to dictate my performance level during the day at work because that's what's going to put food on the table. So I have to show up. I have to.
True.
I don't have a choice. Now, how I choose to deal with that while I'm there or talk about it, like everybody in my professional circle is aware of what's going on, which I think in a way makes them respect me more because I'm not hiding behind a facade. It's not fake. It's real. It's just
Yes.
if I'm here, I'm choosing to be here and focus on this thing because it's also important. And so I think when people know that you take things with a level of seriousness, all the things, because they see how you show up as a dad, as a husband, as a colleague. Um, they just see that you're somebody that, if you're going to show up, they have to show up.
Yes, it reflects on them.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Absolutely.
then also
Inspiring.
like like I said, the prospects and stuff, they knew what I was going through. So if I'm hopping on a call with you at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the evening to talk through terms of a deal, like just know that I'm taking time away from.
Yeah, they better be there on time.
Yeah, yeah. So I just think, yeah, I try to instill that same lesson into my kids, and I talk to my employees about that as well.
That's very powerful. Everything you're saying is I'm sure it's a lot of people are going to get a lot of value. So seriously, thank you. What would you say your fundamental why is? What drives you? Is it your kids? Is it something in particular?
Uh, so it's two things. One, I would say family first, always. That's was instilled in me, from my grandfather. Like I said, like he always put family above everything. My mom the same. No matter what she had going on, how hard she was working, it was always about the family.
Family first.
So that's been my mantra. I think everybody that knows me knows that that's kind of how I live my life. Is right now it's the kids above everything. So whatever they have going on, everybody else has to be on hold. So I deal with that. But then beyond that, like I'm a big believer in competition breeding excellence. At every point in my life, it's been competition that's driven me to take things to another level. Um, First time I played football, I hated football. Like I
Really?
legitimately hated playing football. I hated the workouts in Florida in that heat. I hated running. And so the first day I put on pads, I was in sixth grade. Um, there was this kid knocked me on my ass. And like I sat there with tears in my eyes. And it wasn't because I was hurt. My pride was hurt. And I said, when I came off the field, my grandfather was there. I said to him, I'm not going to let him knock me on my butt anymore. And
Good.
from that day on, I showed up and I got better, not because I enjoyed the game anymore.
Yeah.
I just didn't want that kid to knock me down anymore. And he never did. And I made the All Star team that year. We won the championship that year. The next year, I made the All Star team. We won the championship. We won the championship 3 years in a row.
It's amazing. You wouldn't accept defeat.
Right. And so, same thing with track. When I started running track, first week of practice, never ran track before. They put me in the 400-meter dash up against the best runner they had. he kicked my ass and laughed at me as he passed me on the track.
Oh man.
And I come back to I'm out of shape because it's first week of practice. I'm like, damn, he's not beating me like that anymore. So then he had gone out of town for like 2 weeks in the summer, and I was there practicing every day, running every day. So he comes back, and we run that same race, and I destroyed him in that race, and went on to win almost every race that year. My first year running
Wow.
track.
That was my race too, 400.
Yeah, man.
Oh
Yeah,
man, that's a tough race. You don't feel
it's
your
a
arms and
very hard
legs.
race. Yeah, I
Oh
ran
yeah.
AAU, went to AAU national championship that year, running middle school.
Wow.
Yeah, so
It's
it
impressive.
was it was fun. Track to me it takes a lot of discipline. It's not like football or anything. Like it's just you. Like you're competing,
Yeah,
really you, more than the other people on the track. Because whatever your time is in practice, you're not just magically going to turn it on and blow it out when you get there. So all week long, you're just competing against yourself.
that's
So
true. I'm
I like
curious,
that.
what was your time in the 400? Your best time?
So in eighth grade, I ran a 56 ish. And so I ran, like I said, I made it to the AU national championship and got destroyed there because they had these kids from like the Bahamas and shit that could they could fly.
Oh
I
man.
knew when they showed up, and this was early 2000s, so we were wearing
Yeah.
like the mesh like tank tops and like mesh shorts.
Yeah, I remember that
Yeah,
uniform.
so we show up
Mm.
at AU Nationals, and there was a group of like, I don't know if they were from Jamaica or from the Bahamas at the time, but they showed up wearing those spandex speed suits. I
Oh,
was
that's
like,
a
oh,
different level.
yeah, like I knew
Yeah,
it was on. It was
that's
on. So yeah,
funny.
they whooped me that year, and then freshman year of high school, I ran 400, did long jump. I was in the 55 range freshman year, so I was
Nice.
running with the
Okay.
varsity. And then I did long jump. I was jumping over 20. I was like
Ooh,
21.
yeah, that's
And
good.
I landed and hurt my hip.
Mm.
And football coach was like, you're not doing that anymore. So like I quit running and just focused on football. So
I see. Too much liability for their star player.
yeah, man. Like and
Yeah,
at that time I wasn't even a star player, but like I was getting big, tall and big. So they were like, well, probably not best use of your time. So
true. No, I remember. Yeah, you were like one of the most well-known football players in the city, and I remember that chapter. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, let's say 15 years ago, what would it be?
That's a tough one. Probably take things more serious, like early on. Um, you get a lot of advice from your parents and from your coaches and mentors. And as a kid, it's easy to just kind of like let that stuff go in one ear and out the other. Like you take in little bits and pieces of it. But I find myself now as an adult remembering the things that those people said to me. And it's a lot more impactful now because I've lived it. But in the moment, you just kind of roll your eyes and just keep doing what you were doing. And so, like, I try to tell my kids, and they roll their eyes at me now. Where it's like, I have two kids in high school, and you try to teach them those life lessons, but a lot of that stuff, I struggle with that one because I feel like a lot of what I've been through has helped shape and mold me into the person I am today, and put me in position to do what I do today. Like I wouldn't be here if it weren't for those things. So I don't
Absolutely.
always really like that question because it's like, what would I change anything about where I am now? Probably not. Probably not. As
It's a
hard
powerful
as it's
answer.
been, I'm grateful because it's helped giving me the perspective in life that I have now and help bring me to this point. So yeah, I would say just take people a little bit more seriously. Uh,
Okay.
listen to your mom a little bit more. Stop being a knucklehead, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean
It's
that's a
all
powerful
good.
answer. You're right because you did the best that you could within each chapter.
Yeah,
And so you're right. There's nothing that necessarily would change or you'd be a different person. That's a great answer.
yeah, yeah.
Huh. Do you have any kind of jumping around a little bit? Any specific morning rituals that you do? I know you're very disciplined. Anything that starts your day?
I am not a morning person. Uh, I will say, I wake up early every morning. I have a coffee routine. So funny enough, like I'm a big coffee enthusiast. So like I travel all over the world for coffee.
Oh, like a legit coffee enthusiast.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. So I have like seven coffee contraptions in my kitchen.
Oh man,
French press, mocha pot, pour over, espresso machine, like you name it, like I got it all.
damn.
So every morning I always start the morning with grinding my own beans, making my coffee. I
A
don't rush
ceremony.
it. Don't rush it. Just enjoy it. And then everything else that comes. So that's how it starts.
It's like a ceremony.
Yeah.
I like that. I love coffee, and but I'm not on that level. I'd love to eventually get on that level and appreciate, but I'm not there yet.
Oh, it's awesome, man. Like the thing that's interesting about coffee, it's kind of like wine. A lot of people don't think about it in the same way. You have your sommeliers that tell you about the different origins and the like the moisture levels in the atmosphere where the grapes are grown. Like it's the same type of deal. So like I was in Panama like 3 weeks ago, and I actually went to a coffee workshop while I was there to learn about, the different types of beans and the different roasting styles and the different flavor notes,
Oh,
like all that stuff. So it just kind of takes that appreciation to like a whole nother level because you understand that it's there's a lot of science in making a really good cup of coffee. And I feel like when people are just using those little KitchenAid, you know,
oh yeah.
crappy coffee maker is like it's hard to kind of dive into the complexity of coffee. And so I would advise everybody like invest in like a decent coffee contraption. If you're going to do a cheap one, French press, super easy, coarse ground bean, let it sit for a little bit. You're going to get more caffeine. Yeah, that's with the
That's
plunger.
the thing, yeah.
You're going to get more flavor out of it. It's going to be good. So,
All right. Would you say in the near future there's a cafe or a coffee brand,
that's
potentially?
I've talked to a lot of people about that. I I would love it. My issue with it is it's like overhyped now. Like there's a saturation of
Yes.
cafes. Like even within
Yes.
a I don't know, like a 2 mile radius of my house, I have like eight coffee shops. And I love it personally because I can get up and just kind of walk or take my little electric scooter to the coffee shop in the morning. But to say it's a good business idea, like I don't see it.
Yeah. Not a moneymaker, but more so like a passion project kind of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
if at a point I just feel like lighting cash on fire, like for sure.
Sounds good. I'll be one of your first customers, so let me know.
Sweet.
Come check it out. Drive up to North Carolina.
Love it.
Um, the jumping into sort of a fitness section just because you've always been an athlete and I'm curious to hear what inspired you to begin your fitness journey? Was it, your grandfather getting into football? Were you always active?
No, I would say, I was active for the most part while I was playing sports. I feel like sports give you the discipline to do something. There's like an end goal. Like just working out for the sake of working out never worked for me. You know my journey, at least through social media. Like after I quit playing football, like when I played football, I was in amazing shape. I played at about 265 pounds. I was like, I don't know, like 13% body fat, 14% body fat at the time. I was in really good shape. And, once you stop playing football, I immediately went from football into a desk job. And so one of the things that a lot of people don't talk about with, collegiate and professional sports, especially as like an offensive or defensive lineman, is a lot of what you're doing a lot of times is at odds with like what you're actually supposed to be doing as a normal human being that's not playing a sport.
Makes
And
sense.
so, like I was never like a naturally big dude, but they would constantly want you to eat to gain weight. Like you gotta gain more weight, you gotta eat. And so at one point in time, just to maintain my weight at Ohio State, I was eating like 4,500, 5,000 calories a day. Because you're working out like 6 hours a day.
Yeah, stuck.
So that appetite doesn't just go away overnight. And so, when I quit playing, I'm working a desk, still hungry. Like I was still the same appetite. So after I quit playing, the weight just like exploded. Like it was like, 30 pounds a year, 40 pounds a year. And, when you carry a lot of muscle, a lot of times it kind of hides the fact that you're gaining a lot of fat because you still look to be in decent shape. You just see these big dudes walking around with like super high body fat percentages. But if you have chest and shoulders and biceps, like it kind of works.
Kind of
And
hides it.
so like I would get on the scale. I would see myself getting bigger. Um, but everybody would be like, "Oh man, you look fine. Like you look good. You look to be in good shape. You look strong." And so you just kind of brush it off a little bit. And like I would lift a little bit of weights here and there, but it was like, maybe 2, 3 times a week I would go in there and just bench heavy and squat heavy. And that was it. And so like I blew all the way up to 350 pounds almost.
How tall are you again?
About 6'3".
6'3". Okay.
Yeah. So uh yeah, I mean the highest I got, like when I hit weight rock bottom, it was 350 pounds, and
It-
some hard conversations that I
oh
had
yeah.
with the doctor was what kind of shifted my focus there. It was right around the time where my youngest was born, about 6 years ago, and the doctor said, you're in your early 30s, right? And I was like, yeah. He goes, you want to live to see 40? And I was like, yeah, yeah. He's like, you need to get this under control. Fortunately, didn't have any diabetic markers. Like,
Good. Good.
had some high blood pressure I was dealing with, and so like that was the wake up call for
It's a
me.
good doctor to just be blunt like that.
Yeah, and he knew I had a
Yeah,
baby on the way too, so he was like, you gotta be there. You gotta be
I
there.
see.
And so I'm grateful to him because not being able to see the future, and everything that I'm going through right now, uh, to imagine a world where I would have been potentially on the road to a heart attack, um, while my wife was sick would be insane. And so uh, yeah, so after that I lost about 100 and give or take 120 pounds.
What was the first step that you took towards that journey?
Yeah, so getting with a dietitian and a therapist, food psychologist. Um, for a lot of you try to do a lot of the things that you see other people doing, right? Like I tried to do the vegetarian thing for a little bit. I did lose a lot of weight, but it wasn't sustainable.
I
Like, and
see.
so like I would yo-yo around a little bit. And so I shifted my mindset from, just this kind of all or nothing approach to weight loss, which I feel a lot of people have, to um, just like wake up every day and do a little bit.
Do
So,
what you can.
and so I
I
set this
like that.
small goal. So 20 minutes a day of intentional movement. Like that was the goal. And so it started with, and it like just a walk every day. And then once I started getting in a little bit better shape, I would kick it up to a little bit of a jog, intervals. I'd run for like 20 seconds, walk for 40 seconds. I was in really bad shape, man. So like, I mean, it was pretty rough for a while. And then I had some friends that had gotten into Peloton during the pandemic, and so I ended up buying a Peloton, and I would just get on it for 20 minutes a day. And so instead of, whereas a lot of people, when they're doing that type of like cardio, their focus is let me try to increase the duration or the distance that I travel. So it's like, oh, let's see how I can turn that 20 minutes into 40 minutes into an hour into 2 hours. I want to go for 100 miles. Like my focus wasn't that. It was how can I optimize that 20-minute workout to burn the most calories possible within that 20 minutes? Because in my mind, I was like, well, I'll never have an excuse for 20 minutes. Like if I can't find 20 minutes in the day to work out, then I'm lying to myself. And so I
I
know if
bet.
I set this goal of like I want to ride for an hour a day, like there's going to be days where I skip that. Like it's just like that you might not have an hour or two or whatever. And so I got to the point on that bike where I was riding in like the top 0.1% of Peloton riders. Like I was like in a 20-minute period, I was pushing like 8, 9 miles on the bike.
Flying on that bike.
Like I was
Wow.
riding at like 100% resistance for like a full 20-minute
That
workout.
is
And
impressive.
so the weight just started melting off, because you kind of change your diet a little bit. And as you start working out, you stop craving a lot of the junky stuff that you were eating before. And so burned a lot of weight on the Peloton. And then, I really started liking the connected fitness.
I
And
saw
like,
you doing that.
yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah. So like the gamified fitness. So like with Peloton, you have a leaderboard. And so it tracks all your workouts and how you're competing against, thousands of people all over the country every day. And I just wanted to be at the top. And so, like I said, talk about competition, right? Like with sports and everything, like that became the driver to me was if I'm in this workout with 30 people, if I'm not in the top three, I'm pissed off. And so that's what drove me every day. And then so from
Competition.
there, I got a tonal. And so tonal is like the strength training version of Peloton. So it's like a smart fitness machine that you can do over 200 lifts on this. It's a little machine.
That's what I saw you doing. With the bar that you can attach to
Yeah,
the floor. Ah, okay, yes.
yeah. So it spots you, it tracks all your lifts, it increases the weight dynamically for you. You don't have
Cool.
to write a workout plan, like it has personal trainers baked into it, custom programs, all that stuff. So you just turn it on, your whole workout's there, you just show up and do it, and it
Amazing.
tracks your progress. And so between the two of those, got everything I needed. And
Yeah.
yeah, lost about 120 pounds.
Wow. That's inspiring as well, your fitness journey. And I like the way it basically comes down to doing what you could, not unrealistic expectations.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's the most important part of that is like I feel like people kind of romanticize exercise. You go on IG and you see people doing all these elaborate workouts and things that, at the end of the day, getting fit kind of boils down to a couple things like calories in, calories out, and physical activity. That's it. Nobody said you had to do backflips for 2 hours or, do one arm push ups or any of that.
Catching the weight,
Like
yeah.
move something heavy and eat right, and you'll get in better shape than you are today. And so, like, I think when my mindset shifted to that from I need to have this like super well thought out workout plan and I gotta have a trainer to help me with X, Y, and Z. Like, as soon as that shifted, the weight started falling off because I wasn't thinking about it as hard. Like, I just showed up, just did a little bit every day and eventually, and people ask you, I'm sure you get asked this too, because you do a lot of extreme fitness stuff. They're like, does it ever get easier? That was the question I used to get with Peloton, like all the time. Because they'd see me busting my ass on that bike and I'm sweating and I'm breathing hard, even when I was in phenomenal shape. And so they're like, does it ever get easier? I'm like, hell no. It doesn't get easy. Like, it sucks no matter what. But you find yourself looking down at the end of the workout and you're going way further and way faster than you did 2, 3 weeks prior. And so it's not about it getting easier necessarily. If it's getting easier, you need to increase the intensity of the workout.
Yes. You just get better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, that's true. Huh. Um, for your diet, do you have any specific type of diet, or is it just a balanced diet across the board? Less sugar. What would you
Yeah.
say?
So a lot less sugar. When I was in full on weight loss mode, uh, I'm not big on calorie tracking. This is another, I know, controversial thing. Like, I feel like calorie tracking never worked for me because you can fill calories with a lot of junky crap. And so,
Yes.
um, like my dietitian got me into basically like very light macro tracking. And so to break it down into the fundamentals, your body can only process so much protein at a time. So that goal for me was 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal. Anything more than that, it's wasted calories. So I was aiming for 220-ish, 230 grams of protein per day, but I knew I wasn't going to sit down and eat it all at once. I'm going to split it up. I'm going to keep my carb intake at the time. It was under 50 grams of carbs per day. And then my sugar intake was under 12 grams of sugar per day.
Whoa, low sugar.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, it was like I tried keto. The problem is I didn't like the way I felt on keto. I didn't like, there's a lot of weird symptoms that come with ketosis, like
Yeah.
the weird filmy taste in your mouth, and like your sweat smells weird and you feel weird. And so, like, I wanted to get as close to ketosis as possible without actually allowing my body to go into ketosis.
Good, because it's not really sustainable long term.
Right. And so that's what I did. Like I just made sure track my protein, track my sugar and carb intake, and that was it. And then I felt like everything else would fall into place. Like your calories naturally fall into place if you're watching your carb and your sugar intake, because a lot of empty calories come from that stuff. Like, I would eat low glycemic fruits. So a lot of berries, strawberries, blackberries, stuff like that. Some pineapple. I wouldn't touch apples, oranges, or bananas because they were loaded with sugar. So like I didn't eat any of those during that time. It was just a lot of Greek yogurts, a lot of berries, a lot of fish. I would get cravings. And so I would have to find creative ways to work through those cravings. Like I started making pizza crust out of ground or minced chicken. Like so, I
Sounds
would put,
good.
yeah, yeah. So I'll send you the recipe, but
Okay.
essentially, I'd go to Publix to get a rotisserie chicken, put it in a food processor like a blender with 2 eggs and some cheese, and you spread it out on a baking sheet and bake it. And when it's golden brown, it has the consistency of pizza crust.
No way. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. So it's like
Eggs,
just
chicken,
straight up
cheese.
protein pizza. Like
Wow.
the whole pizza is protein. Like you can put all the cheese on it you want. You can put your pepperoni and all that crap, whatever. But the actual crust itself was just made from chicken and eggs. So it's perfect.
So good. I'm definitely gonna try that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
So
sounds
it's just,
amazing.
find creative ways to deal with stuff. But now that, I'm down, like I'm just in like maintenance mode. So like I'm not as strict as I used to be. Do like I'm still like pretty low carb, but I do eat more fruit. I like to go out with my friends from time to time, so I'll drink an alcoholic beverage or two every now and then.
Hey, balance.
Yeah, yeah. But I haven't put any weight back on, so I'm still like right in that like 225, 230 range.
That's good. Yeah, good weight for your height.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like the way it's basically intuitive eating. Just listening to your body, healthy, whole foods. It
Mhm.
sounds like you simplified it.
Yeah, and oh, other thing, I don't drink a lot of juice ever. And I feel like that's just empty calories. I know a lot of people like juice. They like to think that juice is healthy. There's as much sugar in the juice as there is in the soda, and I don't drink soda either. So, like, I mean, those are
Okay.
the two things I don't do. I do a lot of, so I like yeah, have you ever had Milo's sweet tea?
Yes.
Yeah, so they make a sugar-free tea uh, that they use. It's not like it's a sweetener, but it's a natural sweetener.
Oh, like monk fruit or
It's one of those. I can't think of the name of
huh?
it off the top of my head. I'll send it to you. Anywho,
Okay.
tastes just like the real thing, and like I'll just squirt some lemon juice in there, and that's my homemade Arnold Palmer, 0 calories, and that's
Sounds
where I get my sweet
good.
fix. Oh.
I do like Milo's. The sweet one is just way too sweet. But I like that. That sounds good.
Yeah, get
Huh.
the sugar-free Milos and cut it with some lemon juice. I promise, it's like addictive, bro.
I'll
It's
check that out. I
yeah,
like that. I've just got about three or four more questions left.
sure.
The last one about fitness is how has your fitness journey influenced your approach to business and leadership?
Well, I would say less the journey than the end result, which is confidence. I've been in, like I said, I've been in this industry for a long time, and like I was always a pretty confident guy, or at least I thought I was. Um, but when you're heavier, it affects a lot of different aspects of your life in ways that you don't really realize at the time. Like, I mean, how I dress. Your wardrobe is extremely limited when you're that big. Like, you can't just walk in the store and buy something off the rack. Like, you just got to kind of wear what's available to you at that size.
I see.
And so, I would go to conferences and I look back at a lot of pictures, right? And I look at these pictures that I would take with people. And in the pictures, I would be hiding in the back or I'd be wearing all black. Whereas, they say black is slimming. So I look and I was like, damn, I was wearing like all black and like all these pictures. And, at the time, like I said, didn't really think anything of it, but, definitely losing the weight, I realized that I've always had like an affinity for fashion. I like wearing nice clothes. I like shopping. I like showing up to, these conferences. I kind of have a reputation for being one of the better dressed people when I go to the conferences. And I think it's just one of those things where when you're fit, like when you're taking care of yourself, when you're working hard on your body, there's a natural level of confidence that comes with that because you're proud of what you've been able to do. And so, just I look at the pictures today versus the ones that I used to take then. It's like, I'm out in front, I'm smiling more, I'm wearing more colorful clothing, I'm taking risks with
It's
different
amazing.
white pants or
Yeah.
funny colored shirts and things like that. So it's like I said, don't think about it much, or didn't think about it much when I was overweight, but now it's definitely helped. And in business, how you present yourself, not necessarily like what you're wearing, but the level of confidence and assuredness that you bring into a situation in a way can dictate the outcome. And so I'm more apt to put myself out there and build relationships with people if I'm confident in myself. I'm more apt to
Makes
take
sense.
those risks and sit at tables with people I might not have sat with before, because I feel better about myself. So it's been able to, in a lot of ways, help my career progress, which is a crazy thing to say because a lot of people don't think about that part of fitness. I feel like people take you more seriously when they see that you're somebody that takes your health and wellness seriously.
Yes.
Whereas when I was overweight, I mean, I'd like to think that people didn't treat me differently, but I definitely feel it now that people did treat me slightly differently when I was
Isn't
overweight.
that crazy how like it changes every area of your life?
Yeah.
From the way you carry yourself to your social circle to how people perceive you to the confidence and it's almost like it optimizes you because it allows you to be more confident and just live freely
Or just be
without
more you. Like I mean, like you just said, like it 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 allows you to be more you when you're not worried about what people are thinking about that one aspect. Like
that's
that
so
one
true.
thing can
Yeah,
overshadow so much of who you are as a person if you're afraid to step out because you don't have that level of self confidence that maybe you could. You were
that's so true.
working on it. Yeah.
So powerful. I hope that people hear this message and it inspires them to either begin or continue their fitness journey, among everything else you shared.
Mhm.
The just two last ones. What are some non-negotiable habits that help you stay productive and focused? Like, do you like read every day or anything like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I try to write every week. So that's one thing that's helped me a lot in a lot of different ways, both, like I said, from a cathartic standpoint, just like the therapy of sitting down and just writing, but also I feel the unspoken art of the English language. Like I feel like a lot of people don't talk about how important that part is anymore. Like especially having kids now, and you see, how education's kind of shifted over the years. Like they're not teaching cursive in school anymore, and kids
Crazy.
aren't reading and digesting books and literature as much as they used to. And I'm so thankful that my mom forced us to read when I was a kid because just every part of my professional life and how I compose emails, how if I have a speaking engagement, I got to speak on stage in front of, 500 people or present to board of directors at a board meeting. Like, I mean, communication and being able to articulate things and communicate effectively is really important. And like, it's funny, I've had this rule, and I try to instill this in my kids. Like, I don't like speaking on things that I don't fully understand. So, like, if you're going to ask me about some specific political thing or whatever, like, I would rather just defer than try to go into the weeds because, I don't want to be caught looking like a fool. Uh,
It's good though, because you're not going to be ignorant. Because some people pretend and put on this face or say inaccurate information. So that authenticity is amazing.
yeah, I agree. But also, I hate when people use words that they don't fully understand, or they're just using words just for the sake of trying to impress people with some enhanced vocabulary. So, like, I found that just writing and reading actually helps build that vocabulary so that you can
True.
use those words in confidence without them looking at a context or you looking foolish. So, uh, yeah, I would say definitely reading, writing. Um, that's probably my biggest non-negotiable for sure. Yeah,
Oh, that was good. I like how ultimately it comes down to authenticity. You don't like it when people pretend to be what they're not.
exactly. Yeah,
I could
and
see
it's
that.
so easy to see too. Like, I mean, you ever read an email where you're like, "Come on," like,
I know what you mean. Man, that's funny.
yeah.
Last question is, what is next for you? How are you going to continue excelling beyond boundaries?
I mean, I have some pretty big professional aspirations. I think I love my company, so to continue progressing in my career there, I think there's some opportunities that will present themselves in the near future. My team has been one of the higher performing teams at the company over the past few years. We've broken records every quarter, which is great. So we just got to keep doing what we're doing. But then, outside of my day to day, just focused on, continuing to develop, a more, I guess, robust portfolio. So, like some real estate stuff, some other assets, some investments, and just trying to like become a little bit more well versed in stock market and trying to learn more there. So uh, been chatting with a few of my friends who working in the industry I work in, which is digital media. We work closely with a lot of large publications, but I also get the opportunity to work with a lot of influencers.
Oh,
And so, I have several friends that are, big financial influencers that have been, educating me on how to invest smart. So just like that's been a focus of mine over the past couple months is just trying to like get to a place where I understand a completely new thing that I never really focused on before. Like before it was 401k, robo advisors, let everybody else manage that stuff, but trying to take a little bit more of a hands-on approach
Interesting.
to my portfolio has been a focus.
That sounds interesting. It's nice to have those connections of, people who know, truly know best.
Yeah.
That's
Oh yeah.
cool. Well, I'm definitely gonna have to follow up with you and hear about that.
Oh, for sure. And then lastly, I mean, I almost forgot. Like, there's a lot of people. So one of my best friends just published his first book. Um, so um, he's somebody that I look up to and admire a lot. And throughout the process of writing his book, we would have a lot of deep conversations about the process and his learnings. And so, just through a lot of my blogs and what have you, I've had a lot of people approach me about potentially writing a book.
Yeah,
So I've started kind of laying the groundwork for that. Like I'm not making any promises that anything's coming down the pipe like anytime in the near future, but uh, it is on my mind. So we'll see how that goes.
I could see that. And then that could even lead to more speaking engagements because I definitely see you on stage.
No, I appreciate that, man. I really
Yeah,
do.
no, absolutely. Wow. Well, thank you so much for this episode, sharing all that insight, all that value. It's going to be great. So that,
Like I said, I appreciate you having me in. Let's make this more frequent. It's nice to catch up and chat, but
it
just
is.
look forward to tuning in and paying attention a little bit more to some of the episodes you have coming down in the future.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. And definitely, I want to keep in touch. A beautiful thing about this podcast is like I'm naturally more introverted, and it's kind of getting me, out there more. And I genuinely love hearing people's stories. And so it not only gets me out of my comfort zone, but it forces me to connect with amazing people in my network and get closer to them. And so I love it. Like it really has been an amazing thing. Aside from that, providing, a platform for them to share their story and inspire others and provide so much value and insight for others. So it's kind of like a win-win across the board. But my point is, I definitely want to catch up. As soon as we come to North Carolina next, we got to catch up for sure. Get a
I'm
workout in.
I'm right in the middle of the city, man. So Charlotte, North Carolina, just let me know. I'll take care of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.